The Charity Gaming Guild presents the Nat Pun Podcast.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then I shall begin. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Downtime. A very good afternoon to you, unless you're listening in the evening, in which case a very good evening, or if you're an early bird, a very good morning to you. I'd like to welcome back the players from our very first episode. Ash, say hi.
Hi. Andy.
Thank you for the enthusiasm. Bertie, say hi.
Hello.
Hello, and John.
Hi.
That was very high-pitched. Yeah. Thank you. Right, well, Downtime. Not sure what you need to know about it, other than the fact that we're going to be looking at the previous episode of our campaign and just talk about the things that we picked up on, what we liked, what we didn't like, maybe things we want to see going forward. So, that was... Ash, it doesn't work unless you actually sort of say it. Mouthing it doesn't work.
What do you mean, things you didn't like?
Well...
What do you mean? I poured my heart and soul into that.
Yeah, the whole of session one, Ash.
The bit where we nearly died.
Ah, yes.
yeah, nearly killing my character off in the very first, not even just very first episode, the very first combat. That was, not a highlight, but thank God for goats. That's all I can say. So, guys, open forum. I'm not going to sort of make you put your hand up. Well, I suppose that you could, but no. How was it for you? Stop giggling, Bertie.
Yeah, how was it for you, Andy?
Oh, it was marvellous.
It was good. I think it's always a little bit nerve-wracking when you're starting off a new campaign because I don't think it matters how much prep you put into your character. You kind of go in and go, I don't know what I'm doing. And I find that you tend to learn who they are as you go. Like the accent that came out, not what I was going to be doing at all. And I don't even know where it came from. Can't guarantee it's going to come back again either.
So you actually prepped for your character?
With my many evenings of insomnia, spent about an hour and a half just laying in bed going, yeah, so she looks like this, and this is what she wears, and she used to be a bodyguard, but it was like a crap bodyguard. Well, not that she was crap, her clients. So it would be the beauty pageant winner of the local village, and that would be the person she would have to be the bodyguard for. So she just walked around while they were waving at people, and it was a very boring thing. So yeah, I put a bit of prep in to know where she was coming from.
What about you then, John? Much prep?
A little bit. Kind of had this idea, thinking about different characters, kind of had this idea for an old fella who actually, although he's like book smart, doesn't really know anything about the world, and being told you have to go and do a young man's game and just kind of seeing where he goes. Obviously he had to have a reason, so yeah, he kind of only does fire magic, which yes, that's as far as I got really with an idea, and then we'll just see where it goes from there.
And Ash, I know you were DMing, but the character, the inspirational character of Andy, who I think sounds like he was a real sort of a hero, almost. Was that an on-the-spot based on me, or did you actually plan that?
Hero is a strong word. It was a bit of both. Like, so when I prep as a DM, I have like core notes, like main narrative points and things that need to be gotten over for the story or for character development or something like that. But quite often there's just that one little note that says, by the way, this NPC exists, and then that just blooms into something beautiful. And one day we might see if Andy becomes something beautiful, but we'll see.
Don't hold your breath.
I wouldn't.
So did the story go the way you wanted it?
Yeah. Which is weird, and very rarely happens, to be honest. Normally you end up like trying to wrangle players back round to actually make a cohesive group. There was one point at the start where you went off to the tavern and Adonis decided to wander off to try and play some games, and Vesper. Wow, that was bad. I need to totally forget her character's name. Vesper was the only one that said, "Town Hall, this is what we're here for." I'm like, oh, okay, so we're going to have to bring you back together somehow. Somehow it's going to work. And then luckily, Bo did that for me, so I didn't really have to worry. And then, John, you decided to go to the tavern as well. So you guys made my life very easy.
If I'm honest, I completely missed the cue to go to the town hall.
Excellent.
Just straight over the top of my head. So I was wondering why you had some information and the rest of us are sitting there going, we're going to go to the tavern. It's like, just wasn't listening.
I probably just forgot.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
But I think also that kind of was playing into the characters as well, because Vesper is very much, I'm here to do a job. I'm not here to get distracted or anything. If it's something I can do quickly and leave, perfect. The fact that they had a celebration going on, I'm not interested. This isn't the reason I'm here. Whereas with like G's character, he'd be like, yeah, I want to go to a tavern. That's more interesting than going and seeing this guy that I've forgotten I need to meet.
It was good because none of it felt forced to me. Obviously, as a DM, I sit back and watch what the players do. But like you just said, it felt like you all did what your characters would do and behaved in a way that was true to your characters, which was nice to see. And then it did come together in the end, eventually. After you had the dwarf come and save you.
I mean, I'm sure our characters over the coming weeks and months and years will develop. But do you feel that your character started the way you wanted to? Is there anything you would change from the last episode?
I think for me, I'm kind of happy with the start. It kind of sets out who Adonis is. Quite happy to kind of follow some people who he thinks know what they're doing, although as a player I'm not sure if we know what we're doing, but in character Adonis is pretty sure you're not competent, so I'm pretty happy with that as a start, and then like you say, just kind of grow from there and see where it goes.
For me, it was the thing that I realised after the fact, in that I should have had a shield, and so potentially could have not died in the combat, but you learn as you go. So that was the major thing that I spotted that was a glaring mistake. But apart from that, it's my favourite thing is to learn your character as you go and start off with like almost a blank slate, because the amount of ones I've done where as the adventure happens, I'm like, ooh, I'm just going to add that to my backstory. I've suddenly thought of something that could fall in. So it's nice to discover it as you go rather than coming in concrete and not having any wiggle room.
I think you end up loving the character more when you do that as well.
Yes.
Because when you live your life as a person, you don't know everything that's going to happen to you the moment you're born, do you? You experience things, and that changes who you are. Yeah. And to experience that with your characters as well makes them feel more real, which I think is nicer.
I pretty much know what my day's going to be like. Every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning I have a wee, and every morning at 7 o'clock in the morning I have a poo, and then I get out of bed at 8.
Yeah, but what about your character, Andy?
Oh, character. Right, okay. I've got a... John's lost it already. Thank you, John. Yeah, I've got an idea of how my character to play. I don't think that everything about him has come out yet, but there again, it is only episode 1, so I'm sure I've got some surprises for you in store. But from your... Okay, so turning the tables in, what do you think my character's going to be like? Based on what you've experienced so far.
A nightmare.
No, he said his character, not him.
Yeah, sorry.
His character.
One and the same.
I think for a little while, he's probably going to be sitting on the outside and almost there, kind of going, I'll get involved if I feel I have to, but unless I can see some benefit out of it, I'm not going to just yet. Never leave us to die, I don't think. We'll always join in before that point, maybe. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm seeing him at the moment.
Yeah, it was because you very much started off of, how much money do I get if the others don't come back? And, north is that way, or wherever it was. But actually, in the combat, you came over and you healed me. So I think it's more a case of, I'm going to play as if I'm this aloof guy who doesn't care about the others. But I think you're actually a good guy, maybe.
I think that
maybe.
The tell might be the fact he let you go down before he healed you.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, I was already down at that point.
Oh, yeah. That would make it difficult.
That would.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
I see your point of view.
Yeah, sorry.
yes.
Have you had experience in DMing before?
Once or twice. I'm not very good though.
Oh, he's fishing for compliments, guys.
No, I'm not.
Sorry, you're great.
Yeah, Ash, you're the best DM we've had this week.
Well, John can't say that. He was playing D&D last night.
When does the week start?
I don't know.
Monday or Sunday? No, that's fair enough.
It's Saturday, so that's fine.
So I'm taking it you've got a lot in store for us, Ash.
Oh yes.
I was looking at you as if everyone could see
Everyone
who I was looking
knows
at,
who
but
I'm
they didn't.
addressing.
That's why I did Ash at the end, just so they knew. The question is directed to Ash, the DM.
Yes, I have a lot planned, and I don't think you will see the direction this campaign is going to go in.
I don't think you'll see the direction it's going.
Hey! It could be a bit wild, a bit crazy, but it's for long-time listeners and players in the All Havens. It is some new stuff in there as well that we've not really touched on before, so we'll get to explore that in a bit more detail, a bit more depth, which would be cool. It's part of the world that's not really been looked at too much either. Kind of in between those two mountain ranges is quite clear and empty. So we've got a nice little space to play in there as well, whatever we want. And of course it's canon. So I'll draw, or I did it last session or first session, drawing in lots of references from other campaigns and games that have been run. So there's all those little Easter eggs for people to find and enjoy. The session that we're talking about now, the Obsidian guys, they will get a lot of Easter eggs from that especially, and there'll be plenty more to come.
So out of interest, I know that during the introduction you sort of spoke about the different regions within the All Havens, and you mentioned the characters that sort of lead those particular cities and regions. And they're all, for those of us familiar with the All Havens, they're all characters that we're very familiar with. But do you have any plans, perhaps, and maybe this is me making a suggestion, to bring in actual player characters, even as NPCs? So famous characters from out the world that we've come across in the past.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because it's happened already. There are characters who were player characters and are now NPCs. Probably the most famous of which is probably Zaphon, who was my character who's now a god. Even Targwyn was a player character at Dark Ascension and became a god as well.
Yeah, I know you've done this in other campaigns. I was just wondering whether we...
Oh, and this campaign, you guys
campaign.
Specifically here now?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Possibly. There's some big changes coming for the world as well in November at the World Anvil.
That could be confusing for us, though, if we end up having one of our own personal characters as an NPC in this game and we have to play two characters simultaneously. But there again, I do often have conversations with myself, so it might become more natural to me.
Well, you already did it in this episode, so...
That's true.
The very episode you spoke to yourself.
That's true. Well, no, technically I was speaking to my spirit.
Can you give us a bit more detail on that, or is that something you want to hold back?
Yes, I mean, as that particular race, I do have an inner spirit. I mean, I've got to admit, I was deliberating because the rules are a little ambiguous, because it does say that we can't communicate directly with our spirit, but then there's a table you can roll with traits, and one of the traits is I speak out loudly and have audible conversations with my spirit, and that's the one I thought I would opt for. So you will, hear me have conversations with Tash, my little spirit, and I imagine that they are going to give you a bit more of an insight as to me as a character and my drivers and motives and the like. So yes, watch this space. Or no, you can't watch this space, it's a podcast. Listen to this space.
So what about your accents then? Because there were two very different accents you used, your character and Tash.
Yeah.
Where did they come from?
My vocal cords.
Thank you for that.
Knew it. You didn't roll a 1.
I don't know. I just thought I'd try and do two very conflicting or varied accents. So I've never actually played any character with a sort of cowboy sort of South USA accent. And the other one, in case I'm not sure it was that good, but it was supposed to be Brummy.
I think it came over as Brummy. Yeah.
So I just thought, complete contrast might be fun.
Nice. I always, I have the same thing as you, Bay. I worry that I'm going to forget what the voice is like or the accent's like. Even in that session when you went back to Lambury, I'm like, oh, was that what he sounded like? It is now.
I think the key to it that I've learned is to have a phrase that you use that gets you into that. So it's just something that you say that you know you can always hear in your head and say it in the accent that you're trying to do, and that brings you in.
Yeah.
I just tend to stick to changing my own voice rather than try to do accents. I tried it in one of our other campaigns, doing an Australian accent. It lasted about 3 sessions, and it just got like as soon as we got into combat, it got forgotten, and it just never came back. So I tried to change up my own voice rather than doing accents.
So I've gone the other way in the past. I think the first, because I've only been into D&D relatively short period of time, and I blame Ash for dragging me into this, but I think the first time I was conscious and I just used my own voice. But as I got more and more into the character, that voice evolved, and I went from talking like this to talking more like a bit of I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm not overly bright and I'm not quite sure. And it just evolved, and I enjoy that part of the game. It's kind of an escapism. It's not me.
Yeah.
It's which is a good thing, because being me is not always the best. Trust me.
You mentioned something there, Andy, as well, which is that being self-conscious. A lot of people are self-conscious about doing a voice.
Yeah.
Even as a DM or as a player character, a lot of people get kind of worried about it almost, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I think
concerned about it.
From my own experience, and I can't pretend that I know what every game is like, but from my own experience, the beautiful thing about this game is that there's no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, again, from my own experience, people tend to, they warm to you. If you put in that little bit extra effort and you bring your character to life with mannerisms or an accent or something, people kind of really all bond with that character more than perhaps they would do otherwise. And I think that's a wonderful thing, and it's something I really enjoy, because I want to be loved.
I was very conscious though that this was something that's going to be the same characters for like month after month, and if I did an accent and then forgot it halfway through or it changed, like how do you justify that?
Someone's going to at you.
Someone's going to go, you started off with a West Country accent and now you're Australian, and next now you're American or whatever it is. Like, I can't remember what I did. So I think stick to something I can do consistently.
You're a vocal chameleon, so you change based on where you are and the people you're with.
It's magic. It's D&D. It's magic, people.
You don't need a reason.
Don't need a reason. It's just magic.
I mean, in fairness, I do that in real life. I come from sort of North Kent area in the UK, and when I'm home, I probably speak with a broader Kent accent than I do.
What does that sound like?
Well, you drop all your H's for a start. You know, it's almost Cockney, because in it's Gravesend, and it's not that far from sort of London, so it's almost Cockney, isn't it?
Okay.
You're right. When I first met my wife Amy, and she came down here to visit family with me and Reuben, obviously my brother, were talking to each other, and she said she couldn't understand us because we dropped into such a thick Suffolk accent. And she's from Northamptonshire, so she's Midlands. She's like, I did not know what you were saying. You don't realise it, do you? You kind of always do it subconsciously.
I mean, I adapt to my audience, even my humour. If it's, I wouldn't sort of use some of the jokes that I tend to use most of the time in front of, say, my parents, because I don't want to be sent to my room.
It doesn't surprise me.
Nah. Bertie, John, are we going to expect surprises from your characters?
That's a no.
No.
Okay.
I don't know him yet. Maybe.
It'll be a surprise for everyone,
Yeah.
including you.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably along the same lines. There's things about the character obviously that you don't know yet, like you haven't made as familiar and things like that. But in terms of what he's about, he's already told you. Like he needed to go get life experience, but he has no idea what that means. Which actually, I think, for me as a player going into any campaign, that gives a lot of scope, because whatever happens, I can just go, yeah, that fits. He'd be interested to go and do that. And it makes it easy to kind of go with the flow and say yes to things.
So okay, we've spoken quite a bit about the game in general and our characters, but what about the story then? So we've started and finished in Mistfall, this quiet little village in the middle of nowhere, and we've gone out and we've recovered this sort of family heirloom, this badger-headed gold amulet. We've had reference to the fact that Stormwoods has disappeared, and it's a big crater, but it wasn't a boom, even though Adonis sort of said did it just disappear with a big boom or just not there. The answer wasn't really clear, other than the fact there's just a big crater, which would suggest a big boom to me. You don't get craters for nothing, but what about you? So what do you think's happened? You got any insight yet as to what you think may be the cause of this?
Well, it's tricky without using above table knowledge from other games. So there was a similar-ish thing that happened in another game that I played where the city got up and walked off and left a big crater.
Okay.
So it's like, it could be a god could have grabbed it and chucked it into the sky. It could have, I don't know. I also like the idea that we're never going to find out, because actually that was like a red herring and we're going a completely different angle.
I think a similar thing. I wonder if it's tied in. I really want to go and explore it as a character. But I do wonder if it's tied into other campaigns, because we're doing a Shadow Havens campaign, and one of the cities in the Shadow Havens is now a big crater because of something the party did there, and I'm wondering if it's reflecting between the planes, possibly.
You guys would have missed that, but I just side-eyed Ash and he gave me wiggly eyebrows.
I did not give you a slow wink.
No, that's
there
true.
was no slow wink.
Just put into, because that's one of the things as well, is that even though loads of different people are playing different games in the All Havens, we're not necessarily aware of what's happening in those games. So we wouldn't have known that, in this campaign, a town's disappeared. In this campaign, a town's disappeared. So, tell us, what do you think, listeners?
I've got to be honest, that was the first I'd heard that a town had disappeared in another campaign. But that's, because I never get to play in them.
Andy, if you head over to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/CharityDND, and have a look at the events section, you can sign up for all manner of Dungeons and Dragons events, playing alongside the likes of the four of us.
Yeah, but you always make them play on a Friday or a Saturday when I'm not available.
Well, why don't you arrange something?
Yeah, but then I've got to run it rather than play it.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait till next time we play this campaign then.
So, next thing I want to talk about, there was reference to the Brackenbridge family, and we know that there's something not all above board about that family, how they disappeared after the death of King, what was his name?
Bowsen.
Not Bowser.
Not Bowser.
No Mario involved?
No, Bausan.
Okay. So, do we think that's going to be a big part of the story going forward?
I'm not sure, because it was more discovered just due to a good roll. It wasn't necessarily a nugget that seemed intentionally shared. So I don't know if that's just a nice little Easter egg or if it's a thread we're going to get to follow. What do you think?
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I know Ash loves to put in a lore dump when we ask questions of relevant history, and quite often it never comes up again. It really doesn't, does it? We find out all this cool stuff, and that's awesome. We start connecting threads, and it's not anything to do with what we're actually doing. It's just a part of the background of the world, which obviously makes it all feel real and alive. So I'm not sure. I think we're probably going to end up moving away from the village at some point, and that's kind of just going to be left hanging in the background.
Oh, I'm not.
Gut feel.
I'm going to investigate in more depth this Brackenbridge family.
Split the party.
Yep. The entirety of the next episode. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to be on ancestry.com and all sorts.
It's really interesting, sat here, obviously knowing what's going to happen, to hear people speculate about this kind of thing. It's a privilege of being a DM, is to hear your players speculate about your story.
I'd like to apologise in advance if anyone hears the odd "ow!" It's us beating Ash to get more information out of him about what we can expect.
If people from other campaigns were to start commenting or putting messages in the Discord or inputting the information they have from all these different games, more about this campaign would become apparent. You would join those dots more easily. The problem is, we run so many games now with so many different DMs in so many places and so many formats. It's really hard to do that.
I think what the All Havens really need is like an adventurer's tavern somewhere in the middle, where in campaign downtime people can share their stories of their campaign, like we're gossiping in the tavern on the Discord. That's what you need.
Ooh.
New channel coming soon.
But also, are we allowed to know this information? Because I know that sometimes the games run at slightly different timelines to each other. So I wouldn't want to read it in case it's some little bit, a nugget gets dropped that's like, but you can't know that yet because that doesn't happen for another 3 months.
I think that's part of the DM's role in the game, though, isn't it?
Okay.
Like, so as players, we all have above table knowledge, which you've already mentioned, Bertie, about the town that got up and walked off. It was Chris's campaign, I think that happened, wasn't it? Yeah. But if you bring that to the table, then it's the DM's responsibility to go, oh, actually, Vesper wouldn't know about that.
Yeah.
So what would Vesper know? What would Vesper do? And then as players, you have that responsibility to act in line with your character's knowledge. But then you as the player get to experience all of that and join the dots together on another level as well. So you kind of can enjoy the game on different levels. And part of the fun of D&D is that role-playing aspect of acting in a way that isn't knowing everything. Acting dumb, and you said it as well, Andy, didn't you? When you first started playing, having that character who's a little bit stupid to kind of make you feel a bit easier about how to play the game or how to role play and things like that. And
it just came naturally to me.
I think I'd agree with that though, Ash, because it does take, there's almost like two things going on, isn't there? Like you've got your session notes and what your character's doing, and then above table and outside you go, oh, this links to that other game, that one shot we had, or the November game last year, or a name drop somewhere suddenly sets off all these things that you kind of go, oh, I can see the threads coming together, but my character's got no idea.
There's a great example of our Tuesday night campaign at the moment where you're currently not playing, but the rest of the party are, but you are still sort of playing. At the same time, we've kind of got that slow burn over Discord, and it's being able to build that knowledge, and then when you come back together, pooling all that and getting that above table knowledge, and then working out what your characters know. It's just another part of the game, isn't it? It's part and parcel.
It's also really exciting being on the other side of that, when you're sitting at the table and you suddenly spot other people's eyes light up. Like they've put things together and you sit there going, I don't have a clue, but this sounds like it's really awesome.
Just changing the subject completely now. I know that Bertie, you seem quite keen on finding a little goat mount. I think that we should actually have a team mount, and I've got an idea whereby we find that this little sort of gnomish sort of guild, and we get them to make maybe two-wheeled motorised vehicles that look like maybe modern-day scooters, which we could call Vespers. And that could be our team now.
Oh.
I hope everyone saw that coming a mile off.
Does that mean our group name would have to be mods?
Oh, yes. So what's next for the group? Is there anything you can tell us?
Well, so you are back in town.
Yep.
You're about to undergo the celebrations.
As long as I'm not about to undergo the pun that I first read out.
No, hopefully not. Well, you'd hope not, wouldn't you?
The rip-off.
Yeah.
You've lost it now, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. What was I saying?
No idea. Something about we're back at the tavern. We're about to undergo something.
So you were asking for like hints for session 2.
Yeah.
Right. So you're about to experience the celebrations for the memory of Stormward, with the people of Moonhelm arriving from their town. Now you cleared the roadway. The celebrations will not go as you expect them to.
I mean, I think that's a guarantee. It would be more unexpected if nothing happened.
It would also be pretty rubbish
if
nothing happened. I don't want to say too much and give too much away. I want you guys to enjoy it as it happens.
Do you think we'll survive that episode?
Given episode 1, probably not.
Okay.
But hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have to send in Andy on his goat to save you again.
So we're having a long rest, so that gives me time to reapply my makeup, abs and pecs.
Yeah, your body art.
My body art, good.
Yeah.
What are we, just for my knowledge and maybe the listeners' knowledge as well, how are you going to handle the level up side of it? Is it experience based? Is it milestone based?
So it will be milestone leveling.
Okay.
Purely because experience point based leveling is a lot of admin and a lot of adding up, and I struggle to add a number to a d20 when I roll it. So doing thousands of experience points probably is not the way to go.
So every episode we jump 5 levels.
No.
Okay.
No. There are ways you can jump multiple levels at once.
Skip a few lessons.
Yeah, so you won't be able to go from level 3 to level 6. There's ways that could happen in game if you play your cards right, I suppose.
Is that your prompt for me to get my magic trick out?
No. No, it isn't.
Pick a card, any card.
So the answer to Bertie's question is milestone leveling, but there are other things that could happen in the game that could mean you could end up on different levels as players.
Oh, cool.
Which is something that I've been doing in our Tuesday night campaign, Streets of Dragonman, more. That works slightly different. It's kind of halfway between milestone and experience point leveling. But currently the group are different levels, and it's all based on the choices that they make. So they can take certain rewards, they can choose magic item rewards or level up rewards or other things. So you get a bit more control over customization of your character and what you want them to do, and how quickly you level up as well.
Which is going down great. Everyone's just choosing level up pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. Although Jason jumped 2 levels in the last session and is now level 8, where the rest of the group are level 5 or 6.
So Bertie, I know you kind of... actually, I can't remember whether it was something that was recorded, but you did make reference to fan art.
Yes.
What are you looking for?
I just love it when people use their natural given skills to create things. So I know that in our community we've got some very creative, very talented people, and I would just love to see some fan art. Whether it's our characters, it's the Andy dwarf on the goat, which I would love to see. That would be amazing. But also, maybe if we've got some musicians out there who could put together maybe a little jingle for us as the Nat Pun podcast. Just something to have a bit more community engagement, showing that people are enjoying it, they're liking it, and what they're seeing in their head when it's described and when we're playing at the table is also very cool, because I know that what I saw is probably very different to what you guys was imagining, and it's just a really nice thing to see other people's impressions.
I'm not sure you want to see what's in my head.
Probably not.
What would you want out of this thing, John? Out of this campaign, what are you looking for?
Well, I've obviously played campaigns with Ash before, and they're great fun. Played one-shots with Andy Bertie before. So really, it's actually the fun of sitting with you guys at the table. I always end up giggling with you two at the table. Either one of your funny accents or one of Andy's jokes.
slash magic tricks, slash
magic tricks,
whatever.
Yeah. So really, it's just having a laugh, having a giggle, and getting to play some D&D.
I think that was one of the first things I said to you guys was we just need to have fun. Yeah. Like if we have fun, it will come over on the podcast. Other people have fun as well. And I think that kind of resonates. Yeah. It's a game.
And it's being in the same room.
Yeah.
It's real people.
You're real. I can see more than just your head and your shoulders or just a black screen. Yeah. It's so cool.
It's still worrying though when Ash still gets Wi-Fi drop out and he just stops moving and talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, my technological challenges have not changed.
The DM buffering. Yeah, the face-to-face aspect I always really enjoy. Yeah. I find it makes it easy. I always find playing online a little bit difficult with the interrupt, like the little bit of just a tiny. It's only half a second, but when there's people cross-talking and stuff like that, everyone kind of stops. Just being in a room where you can see each other makes it a lot easier.
And it's also the fact that you're picking up on other people's body language.
Yeah.
Like someone might not be talking, but they're reacting to what's happening, and that gives you a better understanding of, oh, this is what their character's thinking. Or you saw a little look there, or maybe you might not know it's happening, so obviously it's just our voices. I go, I'd just like to insight this character, because I think maybe something's going on. It just gives another level to it.
It's actually a campaign I'm playing at the moment which relies on being in a group together to pick up on other information other than what's verbally communicated. So being together, physically together, is massive, and I think we during COVID, especially, we lost that with D&D, and a lot of groups moved to digital virtual tabletops and stayed at digital tabletops.
Yes.
And we did during COVID. We moved onto that virtual platform, and that enabled us to keep going, and still build our community. And now we do both.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the in-person ones, I think, they're so much easier to engage with because everyone makes the commitment to turn up and to physically be there.
Yeah.
It's much easier when you're playing online to be in your living room or your home office or whatever and go, I can't really be bothered, I'm going to go and get a drink, or just going to nip off and do this or that or whatever or the other.
Online shopping,
yeah. Well, Andy's been online shopping while we've been sat here.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
New magic tricks.
He's buying us all goats.
I think, when they
Or canoes.
Yeah.
kayaks. When I run the face-to-face games, I mean, I get stupidly excited because, I mean, you know what I'm like. I want to sort of, okay, what's the biggest models I've got? What are the biggest monsters I can put on the board? And that needs painting. Right, get the paint out. And I just love that. You know, I just love seeing people's faces when I undo a box and there's this huge, great, big monster. Like, oh my word! And then I kill it. Which is a bit like my online gaming or tabletop gaming in real life. I spend hours painting models. I strategically place on the board. I roll a dice. I say fuck and then take them off the board. So Ash, is there anything you're looking? What do you want out of this? What does this campaign mean to you?
So, campaigns in general to me are really important because that's when you develop the lore of the world. And without our campaigns running, our world would be lots of little bits and pieces. But the campaigns are really important for pulling those main kind of story arcs together and drawing that narrative thread through everything. So bringing in those one shots and the other campaigns and tying it all together is what makes the All Havens the All Havens. So I'm looking forward to developing more of the lore and the background and I need to take something away there. And other stuff, which is coming in this campaign, which we're going to explore, which we've never explored before, and that's what I'm excited about.
You can ask me as well if you want.
Well, what are you
Just
looking to get out of this campaign, Andy?
Oh, thanks for asking.
I got you.
I think very much in line with what you all do. I mean, it's about spending time. I'm using my own creativity to develop my character, and my character will evolve. I mean, I'm sure you've all had the same thing. You start with a character, you may have some ideas about it, but it will evolve based on your interaction with your friends and also the story. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting out of the house and avoiding all the jobs that my wife asked me to do. I mean, that's a huge one. Just don't let her hear me say that.
Don't worry, this podcast isn't going out publicly at all. Don't worry.
Good. And just being part of the story. You know, we've all been part of the Charity Gaming Guild for a number of years now, and to see the world develop and see the stories in different parts of the world all interlock and have an impact on each other, and to be part of that, I get a real sense of satisfaction. And if I can hear any pun that I haven't heard, and let's face it, that's unlikely, then bonus.
I agree with what you said about watching the world develop and see how it all comes together. Because right from day one, the idea or the unique selling point of what we do is that our players write the story. Mm-hmm. Like the DMs set the stage, but the players are the characters. And if in our November games the players cock up massively and kill everybody, that's what happens, and we'll deal with that narratively and how that impacts and affects the world. And I think that's what makes the difference between us and other settings. So if you're playing in Faerun, for example, there's a massive lore.
Yeah, I can really relate to that because recently there was one of our face-to-face events where Mara, who you've made reference to, I mean, she started life as an NPC, and she was a child that one of my characters
founded a cabbage.
Yeah, took in and almost adopted her and protected her. And when she was in this story, and without trying to give too much away in case people haven't seen the story, but it was the risk. She was at risk basically. And as a DM, I was threatening my players: if you hurt her,
he was.
You're going to die. There's no ways about it. I will fudge the dice rolls, and you will die.
But that's testament to all of the games we have and how it all links together, isn't it? That you've got that much kind of buy-in to that NPC.
Yeah, it's an emotional investment in a character that doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
But to me,
they're not
she's
real.
very important.
You didn't even make them. They're just a non-player character that was in the Company of Fate campaign, the first proper campaign that I did, and it's just kind of bloomed massively. And now, if anyone mentions Mara being in trouble, they'll have to deal with Andy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The amount of times that I have been brought to tears in a game, tried to not make it obvious, where people have referenced like one of my characters in a different setting, and the first time it happened, I'm getting emotional now. It's stupid. I was so emotional because it's so much more different when you're playing a standard D&D game of a book, and it's like, this is what happens, this is the options, and then it ends. It's like, okay, you can play it again, and it might work out a little bit differently depending on how it's played. But with the All Havens, you're impacting it, and when you see your character turn up in that, I think it was one of the first big game days where it just happened to coincide with what was happening in another campaign. I was like, this is incredible. You have so much more connection to it when you go, that's me over there. That's my character just passing by, and it really is emotional. I get quite teary about it, but in a good way.
I think that for me that also gives me a bit of hope, like for the characters that we've had in other campaigns. They might not have made an appearance yet, but knowing that characters do, you know, there's a bog somewhere with an old hag sitting in it. I know who that is, and other people will, and other people won't, but that character is absolutely there. Like, don't have to reference it, don't have to see it, but I know she's there. And same with all the rest of the characters who've managed to survive, unlike Ash's characters.
I am on character number 5 at the moment in Stuart's campaign.
But I think just seeing those little glimpses of those NPCs that we do know were player characters, I think everybody who plays in the world goes, my characters are out there somewhere too. They might turn up at some point, and I think that's just magic, really.
Yeah.
It's
and
wonderful.
it keeps people coming back as well, because if you go, ooh, maybe my little Bruce might appear sometime, and it's just that little tidbit of, oh, there's an NPC that's turned up. He looks vaguely familiar, and you're going, who is it? Who is it?
Sometimes you do have, I mean, again, from my own experience, you've got to be careful how you play your character, because having your character remembered for an act of heroism is fantastic. But when your character is remembered more about how he uses a squirrel's tail to wipe his backside, not so good.
But you have to just not mention that every chance you get, and then it's
That's
not
true.
so much of a strong tie-in to who you are.
Yeah, that's probably good advice.
Yeah.
He was also half goat at the end, wasn't he?
Yes, he was to a degree killed and went to the hells and came back with half a goat. Well, he was a centaur, so he was actually technically a quarter goat, quarter horse. So the rear quarter of him was a goat, the front lower quarter was horse, and then his upper half was him. He's half elk, half orc.
Sounds a mess.
Yeah, he was a bit of a mess. But he did because of that, he was able to have a rather unique weapon. So he was able to excrete rather potent goat pellets, which he then picked up with a sling and shot at people.
Nice.
Lovely.
You can't be surprised that you have these references to your characters when it's always poop related.
I have a question. How did you track ammo?
Created it himself. Didn't need to.
It was all about what he ate. It was what went in the top end, informed what came out of the bottom.
But I definitely think there's a mechanic there for getting stronger weapons after a hero's feast.
Plus one pellets.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say that we are very much at the start of this campaign, and we hope that our listeners will join us for every episode and enjoy the way that our characters develop and how the story arc goes. Perhaps a little wry smile might come on their face as they see the amount of effort that John, Bertie and I will put into ruining Ash's story. And yeah, I'm sure you'll all have fun with us going forward. Is there anything else that anyone wants to add before I bring this particular episode to a close?
I think there's only one thing. We mentioned it earlier about miniatures, and I don't want our listeners to think that they're missing out. We don't have any minis. We don't have any terrain. It's all theatre of the mind. So you are not missing out when it comes to that. If you hear something described, it's not really here.
That's true. That's
Apart
true.
from the one session where Andy will turn up in fancy dress.
Drag.
Fancy drag.
Fancy drag.
That one's a YouTube special.
Yeah.
YouTube Christmas special.
Yeah.
So, a fond farewell to the probably one, maybe two listeners that we've got at the moment.
Three.
Hope you'll... 3?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, at least one of us isn't going to listen.
And join us next time when our characters Vesper, Adonis and G will put the world to rights.
With our episode concluded, it is time to thank our incredible Patreon members. So here we go. Ruby members first. Paul C, Lil May, Joshua, Jason, Dave, Claire and Alberta. Thank you so much. We only have one Sapphire member. That's Gary. Thank you for your support, Gary, and for being a Sapphire member and flying the Sapphire flag. Into our Emerald memberships, we have Stuart and Rebecca. Thank you for your support there. Our Diamond memberships now with Zeke, Martin, John, Lizzie, Chris, Bertie and Ash, all Diamond members. We then have our Obsidian members. We have Becca, Niall, JP, Dave, Ethan and Ant. And finally we have our Ruling Council members. We have Chris and Sophia. Thank you so much to all of our Patreon members. You make what we do here at the Charity Gaming Guild possible and are a huge part of supporting these incredible organisations. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. If you want to shout out, you want to hear your name on the Nat Pun podcast, head over to patreon.com/charityDND. Sign up for any Patreon tier and you'll get a shout out on the podcast too. And as part of the higher tiers, you will be hearing from some of our members on the podcast in the future. We'll let you know when that's going to be. But that's it from us. Thank you for listening and we'll see you in the next one.